Hello everybody, Althamir here. In this video, we are going to be going over an ESO year in review for 2024 for the class Necromancer, or Necromancer class if you wanted to say it the right way. So I'm going to be going through pretty much all the patch notes. Obviously, skip to Necromancer because this is what it's about. So let's just dive right into it. Thank you for clicking on the video. I always appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So let's just get it. So this one is going to be update 41, which was quarter one. It's the DLC. It's the dungeon DLC for 2024, which was Scions of Athelia. In this one, well, this probably has to be the worst change because in this one, what they did, as you see, Blast Bones, they reworked this ability and the Stalking Blast Bones morph, renamed this to Sacrificial Bones. This ability and the Stalking Blast Bones morph now summon a skeleton that, after a formulation delay, jump to their owner to infuse it with power for 10 seconds, increasing your damage done with class abilities and damage over time effects. These abilities no longer require a target to activate, but instead require you to be in combat, which I think in a later update they changed, but we'll get to that when we get to that update. Stalking Blast Bones, as they mentioned, they renamed it. This morph extends the duration bonus to 20 seconds, causing your Flame Skull and Morph's third cast to deal their damage in an area around the initial target and create a corpse to their location. Blighted Blast Bones, this morph's overall functionality remains the same to retain a way for the original playstyle of the skill to be kept. Reduce the base cost down to 1836 for non-stamina focused builds to sustain. But I think, and this morph now always applies to the disease status effect. There was a known issue at that time. They also increased the critical chance for the Death Kneel passive, and they fixed an issue with Shocking Siphon, and obviously Animate Blast Bones will always do Blighted now. I'm not a huge fan of this change because now there's no burst for Magicka casters. Now you're forced into a stamina burst, which again, they lowered it to make it easier for non-stamina burst. But here's the problem. One of their reasonings behind changing this in the first place was to ease up rotations. So a lot of people were complaining that they had to recast Blast Bones every couple of seconds, every like 3 seconds in order to get a good DPS number. And so that was one of their reasonings to changing this to, quote, ease the rotation, but it does not really, at least in my opinion. And if anything, if you use the Sacrificial Bones morph, you're losing burst. You have no more burst, and I just think they kind of went in the wrong direction because as a stamina player, as a Magicka player, using stamina abilities in other modes like PvP, Battlegrounds, blah, 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 Cyrodiil, even some other boss fights, you need that stamina for break free, for blocking, for dodge roll. But now sometimes you need it for an extra heal if you don't have a heal over time that's really good. So you're using Vigor, which is a stamina heal. So now you're also, as a Magicka person, your reliable burst is now stamina if you don't use Sacrifice, which I'm not a huge fan of in the first place. What they really should have done, honestly, and, they should have just added a dot on the Blast Bones. But we'll get into that a little later in the video. I think the only really part of the game that this makes better, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I'm not a hard mode guy or a trial guy or anything like that, but I think that's where this really kind of shines because now people can use Graveward Sacrifice and they can maybe, they can kind of focus on other potions and stuff like that. But for the rest of us, we lost burst, we lost damage. And this change for Necro in update 41 is an F, an absolute F, because we lost our burst as Magicka, but we also lost our modifier. Blighted Blastbones does not have the modifier either. You know, that the Magicka version had, which you know, I just really feel it would have been easier, and I'll say it now. It would have been so much easier to just add a dot onto Stalking Blastbones to those who were hit. So anybody hit by Stalking Blastbones would have got a flame dot on them, and that would have eased up the rotation and added pressure and gave Necromancers a sticky dot as well. That would have been the way to go. That's just me, though. I don't know. So moving on, we'll move on to what was the chapter. Westweald. This one, not bad changes. They increased the damage per tick of Shocking Siphon, and they increased the heal per tick of Restoring Tether, which I feel like, you know, was something that was really kind of needed. The tethers themselves still are not great to rely upon, really, because anything can really just get rid of them. Any sort of LOS, a slight bump, tiny rock, someone's shoe, you know, and even in mobile boss fights, now that we lost a corpse that's by the boss's body, it's really hard to attach tethers in mobile boss fights, because it just doesn't make sense, because there's going to be a lot of repositioning, you know, and especially if you're using Skeletal Mage, you know, it's going to be dive right next to you, so now you have to, you know, circle around. But again, you're always going to be recasting. Thank God the tethers are still free, but it just doesn't make sense. And I think the corpse system kind of needs to change. I like the idea of tethers. It's unique, it's different, but it just doesn't work when LOS is involved and mobile boss fights and all these things. And there's just too much in the game where it's like, it doesn't make sense. Because there's so many times on my bar where I'm in the middle of a fight and I can't cast Siphon because there's no corpse that's physically near the boss. Or I'll cast Siphon and then boom, like the boss moves, or the person in Cyrodiil respawns and now I lost my damage. Or I'm in the middle of a fight and the keep flips and now all the guards are gone and they disappear and my Siphon's now gone and now my tick's gone. And it's like, that's not good. We need a sticky dot that's reliable, that sticks to people. I feel like this was, I know they didn't mean it this way, but I kind of feel like this was a slap in the face, because a lot of us, that's what we're asking for. Sticky dots, sticky dots, sticky dots. And then, oh, we got our sticky over time effects. Yeah, well, screw you. You know, and this update also introduced scribing, as we all know, which, you know, this isn't a scribing video, but I do enjoy scribing. It's a really fun thing, and it's just an option. But anyway, I like how when Necromancer first came out, for all of you who don't know, Scythe had heal absorption on it before, which would have been absolutely great for a debuff kind of a class, right? But they justified removing it because, oh, it's too overpowered. But now we can put it on some scribing abilities. So is it overpowered or is it not? Why doesn't Scythe have it? Or why doesn't some other ability have it? My idea for years was put it on Animate Blastbones, especially now that it's a little less, you know, dangerous. You know, it's like put healing absorption on that ultimate, and now it's not so powerful, overpowered, because it's on an ultimate, which doesn't happen that often. And the Resurrect ultimate does cost a lot, but, you know, obvious. I don't know if they read my feedback. I do think Zos does actually listen to feedback, but if it doesn't go in the direction they want to go, then they'll read it, but they go, oh, okay, cool. Not where we want to go, but cool. I give this update here probably a C+, because at least they're trying in terms of trying to increase the damage, and I'll applaud that, even though it's on abilities that are really hard to slot in a lot of different things in the game. The next update, Update 43, which was the housing update, which wasn't really a housing update. It was more of an Infinite Archive update, really, which added a new class set, Corpse Burster, Seems like a pretty fun set. Um, let's see if I can find it really quick. Yeah. All right, whatever. Oh. There we go. Corpse Burster does spell damage, crit. Consuming a corpse causes the corpse to explode, dealing magic damage to enemies within 5 meters, increasing 10% for each Gravelord ability slotted. This effect can occur once every 0.5 seconds and scales off to the higher of your weapon or spell damage. I think it's a decent idea. But I think what would make this even better if this was changed to flame damage, because that's the theme of the class. You know, if you've ever played Necromancer, it's more of like an elemental class, right? So I feel like that would go at least a little way if they change this to flame. I think just like a lot of the IA sets, they're niche. They're not any sort of meta. They're an option, but the set looks fun. I guess to the question of, is it worth grinding? You know, IA is not. I don't think IA is that fun. I think it's something to do, but I don't think it's like super fun. So this update also, if you remember, this is where they added. This was their next step in the year of focusing at least a little bit more on Necromancer. They added the major and minor effects to numerous necromantic abilities to help the class better enfeeble their foes and empower themselves with the taste of death. The following minions' abilities will now only generate a corpse if their summoner was also in combat, in efforts to reduce the ability to generate ultimate out of combat, which I hate this change. I don't understand. Was generating ultimate out of combat that big of a deal? I mean, tell me. I'm not a hard mode guy. I'm not a trial guy. I'm a Cyrodiil guy. I'm a battleground sometimes kind of a guy. I do questing. I try. My favorite thing is going into arenas and trying to solo a lot of the dungeons that you can solo. That's where my fun is. I didn't think it was a huge deal to generate ultimate out of combat. So why hinder and hurt a class that's already hurting? It's like the class's leg is already broken and you're trying to chop off the other leg. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I really hate this change. I hate it with a passion. So next one is Gravelord Boneyard. This ability and its morphs now also apply minor vulnerability to enemies inside the area. The chill of death embraces those in its wake. This ability's minor vulnerability and major breach now persist on enemies for 4.1 seconds each tick rather than only while in the area. I really love that. I really love, because I feel like that was something that's missing, because the area, I don't mind ground, area ground dots like this, like Wall of Elements, like the Warden one, like every class I think really has one, right? Lightning, Flood, whatever. But I think there needs to be something to add a little danger there, because you can easily get out of it. And, even mobile bosses will just walk right out. But if something ticks on them still, that's good. And it just adds a little bit more. It's just that little bit that can help. Sacrificial Bones. This ability and its Gravelord sacrifice morphs no longer require you to be in combat in order to cast them. Again, I don't really like this change to Blast Bones at all. So anything short of changing it back to a burst ability for magic, I'm gonna hate it. I'm sorry. All right, Shocking Siphon. This ability and its morphs now grant you major prophecy and savagery for 20 seconds. I don't really like the change. I'm sorry. I don't. I know a lot of people asked for it. A lot of people were like, it's really gonna help. And I go, no, it's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. Adding the majors to Necromancer didn't help at all, because it doesn't help the damage. How does it not help the damage, you ask? Good question. Well, it's because they already have them. in a way. And no, I know what you're thinking. No, they don't. Yes, they do. You can get major prophecy and savagery so many other ways, especially if you are like me and you do a one bar build. You know, you can get them so many, you can get them through Oaken Soul, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, or you can get them through, Inner Light, or you can get them through Fighters a bit. I mean, there's so many ways you can get them that you have other benefits to using that this is just deemed stupid. I don't think it's a great change because it doesn't add any damage. It doesn't make Shocking Siphon all of a sudden magically slottable. Maybe it's slottable for those who are min-maxing and they can change certain things, but overall, to me, I'm not putting Shocking Siphon on my bar in Battlegrounds still. I'm not putting it on in Cyrodiil still. I'm not putting it on in mobile boss fights still. I'm not. Because I can get Major Prophecy in other reliable ways that adds other benefits to me and allows me to open up my bar to a non-dead space, to something that's maybe more usable, like a sticky dot that's available through scribing, or it's available through Mage's Guild or whatever. So I don't like the change. Same thing with Skeletal Mage. Skeletal Mage's damage isn't really worth the major brutality and sorcery buff. It's not. And for those who use Skeletal Mage in PvP, you know that sometimes it just gets confused. It doesn't know who to attack, so it stands there like an idiot. And then there, and you can't control who it attacks either. If you're attacking person here on the left and you're in a really heated battle with them and you need that pressure damage, short of recasting Skeletal Mage and hoping it finally attacks the person that you're actually attacking, there's no way to control it. There's no way to control who gets the pressure on them. And that's why I also don't like this ability at all, because one, I you do get this buff on Oaken Soul. So again, I don't need it. I have it on Oaken Soul. And in PvP, I would, and this is, you guys are going to think I'm an idiot, but I would rather have Entropy on my bar because I can control who gets the dot. No, not the greatest damage. Perfectly fine with accepting that. The damage is crap, but it's something, right? It's something. I need the pressure because Skeletal Mage is not. I can't control who it hits. That's the problem. And this doesn't make it magically slottable. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And because of that, I think it's a dumb change. Until you increase the damage of Skeletal Mage, somehow make it worth slotting. And I have an idea for that later. I'll get into it, but I think these changes with Siphon and Mage were pointless unless you make these abilities worth slotting a little bit more in every game mode. Some game modes, these things are perfect. I will perfectly say that. In some game modes, these abilities are awesome. If you run into a battleground where you're only fighting one or two people, or you're doing a duel or a boss fight that's really mobile, these abilities are perfect. Anything other than that, no. Okay, Bone Tyrant. This ability and its morphs now also grant minor resolve to their duration. The bones. Oh, I'm not drinking. I'm not reading. This morph now lasts 30 seconds, up from 20. I really do love this change. I really do, because you needed something, right? And this just needed a little bit more love. And it's very small, but I really really do love this change. Bone Totem. This ability and its morphs now also apply major cowardice to enemies inside of its agony totem. This synergy granted from this morph, pure agony, no longer applies minor vulnerability as Boneyard now applies. Completely makes sense. I do like this. The only thing I would say about Bone Totem is I really wish that they would make it where it fears upon cast as well as every 2 seconds after. Because a lot of the times, whether it's a bug or whether it's because of lag or skill delay, when you cast this and it's laggy, like in Cyrodiil, it doesn't, unless they fixed it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. Last time I used Bone Totem in PvP, it never fired after 2 seconds. It was cast 1, 2, 3, 4, and then boom, it would fear. So it would fear on the 4-second mark, not the 2-second mark, and that made it useless. So I think this needs to be changed. I do love the change, but I think this needs to be changed to like fear upon cast as well. Give us a little something here. Grave Grass. This morph now deals damage equal to half of the normal area effect spammable attack to enemies in each patch. Now, this got changed later, but I'll say I really do love this change because that was something that I've been toting for a while on the forums and pretty much in anywhere who would listen to me. I said the one thing you look at any other class, what do they have? They have damage outside their damage skill line. You know, especially the base classes. But look at Warden, right? You have the animal companion skill line. That's their damage skill line. But you also have damage in the tank skill line with Frost. Same thing with Arcanist. Same thing with a lot of other classes. But Necromancer didn't. It was the one class where it was like, seriously, it was damage, heal, tank, boom, that's it. Nothing. And there needed to be a little mix. We needed something else. And that's what this is. And I do like it. It still needs, I wish it was a little faster, but I do like the change because it's something and it's at least a step forward. I really hate that that sacrificial bone stayed the same though. You know, they did say they would keep an eye on it through the year. They did say through the year though. I will give them that. I'm pretty sure they said through the year. But a lot of us are to this day are still complaining that sacrificial bones is not great. It doesn't ease the rotation. It takes away a corpse away from the feet of a boss, and it's you know, and it just no. It's just a huge no. Um, I think even the corpse system needs to be changed. The corpse system doesn't work. It was a nice idea, but it just doesn't work. So I give update 43 a D grade. So to recap, before I get into the final, update 41's grade was an F. Update 42, the chapter grade was a C plus. Now we're getting into update 44, which just dropped. This was kind of smaller changes, but let's get into it right away. I can already see that they spelled acid spray wrong. But let's get into it. They fixed an issue with Bitter Harvest, where this ability and its morphs would appear to be castable when a corpse that was not consumed, whatever. Ghostly Embrace. This morph now deals frost damage. Thank you. The theme of the class is Elementalist. There shouldn't be any magic damage in there whatsoever. It should be some form of an element. Fire, shock, frost, poison, disease, what have you. This morph no longer applies minor maim to each hit and its areas. Hold your rage on that. And its areas now apply new effects instead of the original crowd control oriented effects. The first area now grants the chilled status effect, which also applies minor maim. So we didn't lose it, all you necromancers out there. It just went somewhere else. Instead of snaring enemies. The second area now applies a frost damage over time effect for 5 seconds, similar to Burning Talons and Azure Spray, rather than immobilizing enemies. The final area now generates a corpse if at least one enemy was hit, rather than stunning enemies. I do really like this game. Again, it's a step forward. It's making Ghostly Embrace more slottable. That's not really a word, but I'm making it a word. I'm bringing it back. I think that's the right way to go. Tiny steps forward. I think what I would say is, I'm not trying to steal your idea. If you're watching this video and you go, hey, that was mine, I'm openly saying that what I'm about to say is not my idea, but I loved it. I just don't remember your name, and I'm too lazy to search for it. I'm sorry. Because I have no idea what forum it was in. But someone said that instead of doing 3 spots that go out, it should be like a ground AoE kind of like spread thing, kind of like think of like Elemental Ring, you know, or something like that, where it just kind of goes out. Like the closer you are to the center, you know, like so if you're close to the center, you would get the chilled status effect. The further you go out, you're gonna get a dot. Then you're gonna get generates a corpse, blah blah blah. And I think that's actually a really good idea. You know, or maybe you have all 3 effects: a chilled status effect, a dot, and a corpse drop, right? But the closer you are, the more damage, the more likely of your chilled status effect, and the more of a frost dot you get. And the further out you are, the less of a dot you get, and the less chance you have of the chilled status effect hitting you. And no matter what, how, and maybe you could do something like, depending on how many people are hit, it will generate that many corpses on the ground. That way, again, we need more corpses. We need more corpses, and you're taking it away. You're also taking it away, where now everything has to be in combat, in combat, in combat. Like, and it will only generate a corpse if we're in combat. That's stupid. You're making it harder to be a necromancer. You're also making it harder to use corpses in a corpse system that already doesn't work. So I think something like that. So I'm taking that guy's idea and I'm adding my own thing, where it goes, if you're further, wherever you are, if you're in this ring of death, let's say there's 6 people in the ring, there are going to be 6 corpses that drop on the ground that we can now use for tethers and stuff like that. I think that's perfect. I think almost every ability in the Necromancer skill line should drop a corpse to make it easier on us. You want the corpse system to work? That's what it needs to be. We need more corpses. Even from sets. Corpse Burster and the other sets from IA, they should drop corpses. You need to make sets that drop corpses too. All right. Sacrificial Bones. Fix an issue where the corpse left behind its ability its morph can sometimes... I don't care. So overall, I'd say that Necromancer for update 43 is a D. And 44 rather. Oh, so this is 44. I'm an idiot. 44 is a B, because I really like to change the Grave Grasp. I really think it's a step forward in the right direction, and again, I think the ability needs to be changed a little bit completely with the same idea. I love this idea of chilled frost. Awesome. Keep that, but make it more of a spreading make it more of a spreading thing. Or make it more like talons. For talons come out of the ground and grab you. Okay, so what if instead of talons coming out of the ground, zombie hands come out of the ground and grab you, and there's a chilled status effect, and again, I think you should do all 3 and have it be, the closer you are to the center, the more chances of chill, the more damage you get, and the further out, the less. I think that makes sense. I really do. Turn the page. I say overall, though, for 2024, I think Necromancer, year in review, I'd say it's a D. They had some steps forward, and I do like some of the changes, but others just really didn't work. They didn't move the needle enough. Tether and Skeletal Mage still need a lot of work. And I already said a lot of the issues. You need to speed up skulls. It's still way too slow of a spammable. Blighted needs to put a dot on enemies that hit, making the rotation easier, right? How does it make it easier? That's obvious. You wouldn't have to recast it until the dot's over. Same thing with Skeletal Mage. One of my ideas was, if it goes to full amount, you gain another ability. Think like Nightblade's bow, Spectral bow, or frags for Sork, right? I had a brain fart there, I'm sorry. You gain another ability where you shoot an enemy and it does dot damage. That would be perfect, right? Where, boom, now blah 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 ability is available. You shoot them, it does X damage, and it stays on the enemy. So now it eases the rotation, and now we have yet another sticky dot. Boom, perfect. One idea I had for Animate Blastbone's Ultimate was make it a self-synergy option that explodes bodies, doing damage and adds a dot damage to all in the circle. Or take out the dot damage, have it do X damage, and apply heal absorption to everybody in the circle. I think that'd be perfect. And for Boneyard, I think it would be pretty simple, is to just increase the self-synergy damage. I'm not saying by a lot, but by, let's boost it a little bit. I really hate to give the overall grade a D, but because there were steps forward, there were serious attempts to make the class better, and I applaud that. And I say to Zos, keep it up, keep moving forward. Just because certain things didn't work out, at least in my eyes, doesn't mean you shouldn't keep forward. I really do hope that for 2025, just like in quarter 1 of this year, Sorcerer got some overall changes. I think Necromancer needs some of that. And I don't think Necromancer is that far from being a class that's fun, right? A class where my ideal idea for balance is every ability is slottable in every mode. Everything's an option to people. You know, it's not this ability sucks. This ability doesn't work because of XYZ. It's an option. And I think they got it right with Arcanist. I think there's a lot of classes out there where I think they got it where they're going in the right direction with that. Dragon Knight, Arcanist. I think Sorcerer is getting there now. Like, I think that's where you need to get, where everything's just, I hate to repeat it, but everything's just an option. None of the abilities are bad, but it's like, yeah, you can slot that, or you can slot that, or you can slot that. It becomes just things you can have for fun. That's what this game is. It's fun. And that's what I'm not having with Necromancer. I'm having migraines. Because the class that I like is the class that I've liked in a lot of different fantasy video games, which is Necromancer. It's just not fun. Yes, I can do all the content I want to do, but am I having fun doing it? No, because some of your abilities aren't fun. The corp system isn't fun. So continue to take steps forward. I applaud you for your work in 2024. Thank you so much for focusing on Necromancer. Just keep going with it. Keep trying things. You know, I love, my suggestions, you can go back and watch them a couple minutes ago. That's what I would do. And I think adding those slight things would make the class just absolutely more fun for me. And I would log in a lot more often than I do because I would love playing my class. And it's just 5-6 things. Not like insane overall changes. So anyway, that's my year in review for Necromancer. Just to let everybody know, I'm not entirely sure. When I first came up with this idea, I was gonna do it for every class, but here's the problem with that is I don't play every class. At least not extensively. I play Necromancer a lot, I play Arcanist a lot, and I play Sorcerer a lot. The other ones, I play Warden when I want to pull out my, Cryomancer, because I do an ice build, like Sub-Zero type build on it, and I love it. So it's more of an ice build than a Warden build. I don't really know the class that well, so I'm gonna try to get out other ones for Arcanist and Sorcerer, but don't quote me on that. I'm gonna try. But this was the video for Necromancer year in review. In case you missed it, it was a D. Let's see what 2025 brings us. You never know, right? You never know. I don't know. Quarter 1 is where we're going to see most changes, I think. So cross your fingers, Necromancer lovers. You never know. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, guys. You guys are awesome. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.